आज मैं बहुत हसास सब्जेक्ट पे बात कर रहा हूं और आज ये हमारा मसला हो चुका है और हमारे बच्चों का मसला हो चुका है, इंसानियत के एग्जिस्टेंस का मसला हो चुका है और हमको इसको बहुत सीरियस लेना चाहिए, ओवर रिएक्ट नहीं करना चाहिए, सीरियस लेना चाहिए। 1965 विनिपेग, मैनिटोबा, कनाडा, राइमर फैमिली, इनके यहां 2 जुड़वा बच्चे पैदा होते हैं। एक का नाम डेविड राइमर, दूसरे का नाम ब्रायन राइमर, निकनेम ब्रूस। 7 महीने की उम्र थी, दोनों को फिमोसिस की बीमारी हो गई, जो प्राइवेट पार्ट को स्वेलिंग हो जाती है, बबल टाइप। माँ बाप ब्लू कॉलर बैकग्राउंड से थे, परेशान हो गए, डॉक्टर से रुजू हुए तो डॉक्टर ने सजेशन दिया, प्रपोजल, एडवाइस कि तुम इसका ऑपरेशन करा दो, खतना यानी कि सर्कमसिशन। दोनों गए। उस जमाने में नई नई लेजर टेक्नोलॉजी आई थी, वो उन पर आजमाया गया, ऑपरेशन फेल हो गया। प्रोसेस में डेविड राइमर का प्राइवेट पार्ट जाता रहा, कंप्लीटली लॉस्ट, यानी वो अब मर्द नहीं रहा। ये बड़ी ट्रेजेडी थी, फैमिली परेशान हो गई। तो कनाडा के टीवी चैनल पे जॉन मनी, साइकोलॉजिस्ट, बाइसेक्सुअल और जेंडर न्यूट्रलिटी, इस चीज का माहिर था ये, और ये जॉन हॉपकिंस हॉस्पिटल में प्रोफेसर था, बल्कि डॉक्टर भी। अब उससे रुजू हुए तो वो प्रपोजल दिया, चूंकि बच्चे का प्राइवेट पार्ट जा चुका है और टेक्नोलॉजी उतनी एडवांस नहीं है, इसको हम औरत बना देते, क्योंकि वो टेक्नोलॉजी मैच्योर हो चुकी थी उस जमाने में। टेक्निकली बता रहा हूं, डेविड राइमर को औरत बना दिया गया, उसको औरत का वजाइना डाल दिया गया और ट्रेजेडी यहां से शुरू होती है। मंथ आफ्टर मंथ, साल ब साल, जॉन मनी उन पर ऐसे एक्सपेरिमेंट किया, यानी दिल को हिला देने वाला। मां बाप को कुछ इल्म नहीं था, बच्चे बोल नहीं सक रहे थे। मंथ्स आफ्टर मंथ, साल आफ्टर साल उनके ऊपर सेक्सुअल एक्ट्स, एक को मर्द बनाना और दूसरे भाइयों को, एक मर्द और दूसरा भाई ब्रेंडा, ब्रायन एंड ब्रेंडा। बच्चे बोल नहीं सक रहे थे। इसका ऑफ कोर्स कॉन्सिक्वेंशियल एक्सपोजर तो है ही है। 36 साल की उम्र में यह ट्रॉमा के साथ ब्रायन एंटी डिप्रेसेंट ओवरडोज ले लेता है और उसकी मौत हो जाती है। और 2 साल के बाद जो बच्चा डेविड राइमर, यह खुदकशी कर लेता है, जिसका प्राइवेट पार्ट खो चुका था, जिसको वजाइना डाल दिया गया था। यह बड़ी ट्रैजिक कहानी है, आप वीडियोस आगे देखिए।
Vice versa.
And so Money tried out his theory on 2 young twin boys, the Reimer twins.
When the twins were 8 months old and they went to be circumcised, the first twin, whose name was Bruce, something went wrong with the machinery and his penis was burnt off. They stopped and didn't do a second circumcision on the other twin, as you might imagine. And the parents, of course, didn't know what to do. How are they going to raise this child?
John Money convinced Bruce's parents to transition him into a girl. Money also conducted sexually abusive experiments on the twins throughout their childhood, including forcing them to simulate sex acts on each other.
He reported up to the age of 10 that this was a complete success. Well, wasn't true.
The results were a disaster. Bruce could never fully accept his female identity. Eventually, his parents told him the truth, and he chose to transition back to a boy, taking the name David. As an adult, David spoke out about the abuse and the damage done to him by John Money.
The girls would do their things with their Barbies and things like that, and that wouldn't interest me. And things such as trucks and building forts and getting to the odd fist fight and climbing trees. That's the kind of stuff that I like, but it was unacceptable. So I'd never.
As a girl.
As a girl, I had no place to fit in.
The trauma that he and his brother and his entire family went through left deep scars. His brother died of an overdose when he was 38, and then David committed suicide.
There was never a retraction or an apology from John Money. Instead, his ideas were adopted by mainstream psychology.
Transgender, bisexual, gender assignment, social construct, gender neutrality. इसका फाउंडर है एल्फ्रेड किन्सी। ये 1896 में पैदा हुआ था, 94 में, और इसकी मौत हुई थी 1956। ये तमाम ट्रेडिशनल मैरिजेस को खत्म कर देना चाह रहा था, और ये बाइसेक्सुअल था और अपनी बीवी को और अपने आप को इतना फ्रीडम दे दिया था कि तुम जिस किसी के साथ भी जिनसी ताल्लुकात कायम कर सकते कर लो, चाहे वो मर्द हो या औरत हो। बेसिकली ही वांटेड टू एलिमिनेट द फैमिली सिस्टम। अब आप ये वीडियो देखिए, उसके बाद मैं बात को आगे करूंगा, और ऐसे ऐसे क्लिप्स है जो देखने के लायक है।
Parent, right? Okay? It's perfectly normal for 10 years and up. Here's just one page I want you to see here.
For 10 and up, huh?
It's unspeakable what these people have done to our children.
When did that start, that we need to start teaching kids about this stuff at such a young age?
So I'll answer that with one word: Kinsey. Kinsey was a social reformer. He wanted to rid society of Judeo-Christian values when it came to sexuality. And he worked very hard to do that, and I would say he succeeded.
Kinsey would be very happy with our culture today. His idea was that children are sexual from birth, that we're all inherently sexual creatures from cradle to grave. He believed that true happiness is found in a life of perverse sexual experimentation, no matter the age.
What came out is that his research was fraudulent.
Kinsey based his fraudulent conclusions on data he collected from convicted sex offenders and child molesters. His research was conducted in prisons, not everyday America. He also performed horrific sexual experiments on children, some under the age of 1. His most influential book, Sexual Behavior in the Human Male, contains an infamous chart called Table 34, which documents the orgasms of very young kids, including babies as young as 5 months old. But instead of suffering the consequences for his heinous actions, he was and still is celebrated by academia and Hollywood. His ideas form the foundation for sexual education in public schools today. How do we get from this to you can choose your own gender?
Okay, well, now we have another very important character, and his name was John Money.
John Money was a psychologist and professor at Johns Hopkins University. Gender ideology was his brainchild. In fact, he coined the terms gender identity and gender roles. And according to Money, babies are gender neutral at birth, and ultimately environment determines whether a person is a man or a woman.
Money was telling the world about his theory that a boy could be raised as a girl and do just fine, and vice versa.
अच्छा, ऑपरेशन के दौरान उसके टेस्टिकल निकाल दिए, जो स्पर्म पैदा होता मर्द का, ने बिल्कुल खत्म। अच्छा, चूंकि जेंडर असाइन होना है, अब आप देखिए जेंडर यानी जेंडर न्यूट्रलिटी, तो इसके बाद तो स्काई इज द लिमिट। अब तो आप कुत्ते भी बन सकते, शेर बन सकते, जो चाहे बन सकते। आप जहां तक सोचते सोच लीजिए आप। तो when ship sails in the ocean, then there is no limit. अब आप ये वीडियो देखिए कि मैं क्या कहना चाह रहा हूं।
Seeing kids that are identifying as animals going to school, and they are purring instead of answering questions, and they meow, and the teachers are not allowed to question it because it's considered a queer identity.
So, you have kids that are going to school and they're saying, I'm a cat. And the teachers have to affirm them as a cat.
Yes. So
The
it's not
schools are
just
like
the young.
literal zoos now, basically.
They are.
I am a 27-year-old transgender woman. I am a Wolftherian and a member of the furry fandom.
When and how did you discover this inner wolfness?
Probably around age 10 or 11. I was watching an anime about wolves and see the wolf running across the screen, and I'm somehow just intrinsically like, oh, that's me.
Have you spent any time around biological wolves?
Yes.
अब कुछ वीडियोस देखिए कि इंसान जानवर बन गया, कुत्ते, बिल्ली, और उनके ट्रेनिंग सेशंस हो रहे हैं लॉस एंजलिस में, स्कूल है, हाउ टू बिकम ए पपी, आई मीन हाउ टू बिकम ए डॉग पेट, और उसकी ट्रेनिंग होती है बाज़ाब्ता, एंड दे आर वेरी प्राउड.
You'll like your wife because you just throw a ball across the room. Relationships wouldn't fail anymore if that's all you had to do. Here, Tony. People come to my house and they see my ribbons and they say, oh, you've won all these ribbons at dog shows, but they rarely ask if I'm the dog. I've won quite a few. This is the High Point Award for Puppy Palooza, and then these two are the best ones I have because these are my two best in shows. I got these at DomCon. My name is Tony, and I'm a human pup.
I'm Andrew. I'm Tony's husband and trainer.
Pet play is any time that a person takes on the role of an animal, and they emulate that animal, either through their behavior or their actions. Some people wear costumes. This is the first hood that I ever got.
Boy.
Hey! Nice to see you. Come on in. Very good. Beautiful. The purpose of the LA Pony and Critter Club is to provide a safe space for people to explore and experience animal role play. Nice. And we have just the best time. Every time I do it, it's like the best time of my life. This is the best moment of my life. Oh, this is the best moment of my life.
अब आप इस औरत को सुनिए, ये कोई मामूली औरत नहीं है, ये बहुत बड़ी डॉक्टर है, बहुत बड़ी, और ये की पोजीशंस पे है. इसका नाम है मिशेल फोर्सियर. ये है मेडिकल डिग्री यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ कनेटिकट, रेसिडेंसी फ्रॉम यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ यूटा, पीडियाट्रिक्स, worked in Planned Parenthoods for 20 years. और आप इसका गुरूर देखिए आप. और क्या बोल रही है? I do advanced contraception and abortion. मतलब प्रेगनेंसी को रोकना, एबॉर्शन करना, जेंडर हॉर्मोन्स. मतलब ये हुआ कि लड़का है, लड़की है, वो क्या बनना चाह रही है, क्या नहीं बनना चाह रहे हैं, जेंडर असाइनमेंट. यानी आप ये देखिए आप, मतलब एक मर्द पैदा हो रहा है, नहीं 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 नहीं, वो क्या माने, वो दौर गया. अब आप बोलो क्या बनना चाह रहे हैं, ये कह रही है, ये औरत ये कह रही है. अच्छा, ये जब ये सवाल करता है कि कितनी उम्र में छोटे बच्चों को मालूम हो जाता होगा कि वो मर्द है या औरत है, तो बोले बेबीज, कई को तो इन्फेंट्स, बेबीज. और हम उससे पूछते हैं कि बेटा तुम क्या बनना चाह रहे हो, तुम जेंडर के मामले में तुम कहां हो. हां, जो मर्द बच्चे को जो मर्दानियत होती है उसकी छोटा पार्ट होता है, बोल रही है. आप देखो, आप गौर से देखिए, आप और बोल रही कि वो छोटा लिटिल पीनस, क्या मतलब है उसका? कुछ भी नहीं। इट मीन्स नथिंग। हम बोलेंगे, वो बच्चा डिसाइड करेगा। फिर हम बच्चे से पूछेंगे, तुम्हारा फ्यूचर प्लान क्या है? क्या तुम औरत बनना चाह रहे हैं, मर्द बनना चाह रहे हैं, या कुत्ते बनना चाह रहे हैं? अच्छा, और एक देखिए जुमला, जब बच्चा ये बातें करने लगता है, व्हाट एन इमेजिनेशन, क्या बच्चे का इमेजिनेशन है देखिए आप। हालांकि है वो मर्द, लेकिन उसका जहन कितना खुला हुआ है कि मुझे औरत बनना है, या मुझे कुछ और बनना है, या मुझे जीन भूत बनना है, या मुझे कुत्ता बिल्ली बनना है। क्या बनना है? आप ये इंटरव्यू जरूर देखिए।
My name is Michelle Forcier, and I have a medical degree from University of Connecticut, residency, University of Utah Pediatrics, and I've worked for a number of different Planned Parenthoods for 20 years. I do advanced contraception and abortion, as well as gender hormones, and sort of looking at the whole sort of schema of gender, sex, and reproductive justice.
So you've done a lot of work in this field. Could you just start by telling us?
Sure.
At what age can a child first begin to transition into another gender or identify themselves as a gender different from how they were born?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's research and data that show that babies and infants understand differences in gender. Some children figure out their gender really early, and the reason why we say, oh, that's interesting or important is because they're figuring out their gender identity is not necessarily congruent with their sex assigned at birth.
When the doctor sees the penis and sets an arbitrary distinction?
Telling that family, based on that little penis, that your child is absolutely 100% male identified, no matter what else occurs in their life, that's not correct.
So what is gender affirmation care? You're a big proponent of. If we walk through, a child is sitting down with you, is questioning their gender. What's the gender affirmation process?
Affirmation means that as a pediatrician, as someone who says my job is to provide the best medical care for you, is I need to listen really carefully. And how I put it in words for kids so that they can understand it is, tell me your story. Where have you been in terms of your gender and your gender identity? Where are you right now?
अब आप मिशेल फोर्सियर को सुनिए, वही डॉक्टर, और वो बात कर रही है प्यूबर्टी ब्लॉकर। और प्यूबर्टी ब्लॉकर देखिए आप, जब बच्चा जवानी में कदम रखता है या लड़की लड़का, तो हार्मोन्स काफ़ी परेशान कर देते हैं, एक कन्फ्यूजन हो जाता है बच्चे की ज़िंदगी में। और ये कह रही है कि हम उसकी जवानी को ब्लॉक कर देते हैं और वो रिवर्सिबल है, जबकि दूसरे डॉक्टर्स बोल रहे हैं रिवर्सिबल नहीं है। और दूसरी डॉक्टर कह रही है जब आप प्यूबर्टी ब्लॉक कर देते हैं तो आदमी बूढ़ा हो जाता, ही एक्ट्स लाइक एन ओल्ड मैन। उसका देखिए कितना डायरेक्ट, इट्स इंटरकनेक्टेड है। आप जिस चीज को, प्रोसेस को, जो जवानी की तरफ बढ़ता हुआ कदम को ब्लॉक कर दे रहे हैं आप, नेचुरली ए पर्सन विल बिहेव लाइक एन ओल्ड मैन। मगर वो अपनी गलती को, अपनी उस पे थोड़ी भी नदामत का इजहार नहीं कर रही है।
Transition began with medication.
So medical affirmation begins when the patient says they're ready for it. So that could be a kiddo who is just starting puberty and panicking because they're getting breast buds or their penis is getting bigger and busier and they're worried about all kinds of masculine changes. And that way, puberty blockers, which are completely reversible and don't have permanent effects, are wonderful because we can put that pause on puberty. Just like if you were listening to music, you put the pause on and we stop the blockers and puberty would go right back to where it was. The next note in the song just delayed that period of time.
You can just pause puberty.
No, you can't.
And then pick it up.
No, you can't.
For the future.
No, you can't. How many studies do they have, long-term studies, on hormone blockers with children? None.
I just spoke a month or two ago with a mother whose 14-year-old daughter was put on blockers. They discovered after 2 years, this 14-year-old girl has osteoporosis. That's something that like old women get.
How can doctors assure parents that a certain medicine is totally safe? If based on what you're saying, they can't possibly know that.
How can they be removing the healthy breasts of 15-year-old girls? How can they be sterilizing kids? How can this whole thing be happening, Matt?
Every child that they convince is transgender and in need of medical transition, it generates $1.3 million to pharma. And we're believing a pharmaceutical company, Lupron, hormone blockers, reversible, so they say. Well, the truth is that in 2003, Lupron was sued and deemed a criminal enterprise by the U.S. government. They paid the most fine of any pharmaceutical company at that time, $874 million, wrote a check.
Is Lupron chemical castration?
Yes. Aren't we? We're giving it to people that are dying, and we're giving it to kids, telling them that they were born in the wrong body and it's completely safe.
One of the drugs used is Lupron, right? Which has actually been used to chemically castrate sex offenders?
You know what? I'm not sure that we should continue with this interview because it seems like it's going in a particular direction.
Well, you're a medical professional.
I am a medical professional.
So you don't want to talk about the drugs that you give to kids, or?
Again, I'm a physician and I use medication. You're choosing exploitive words. Drugs I give to kids.
I'm choosing a
chemical
word that was in a dictionary.
That's not a correct term for puberty blocking.
I could look it up on my phone, but I'm pretty sure if I looked it up...
You can look it up on your phone.
It says medical definition, the administration of a drug to bring about a marked reduction.
अब आप ये वीडियो देखिए और बड़ा मज़ेदार है, बहुत ही लतीफ़। एक अच्छा खासा मर्द औरत बन गया और जो है ना पब्लिकली मजमे में दोनों में बहस चल रही है। ये प्रोग्राम उसी के ऊपर था। तो वो सवाल कर रहा है उससे कि भाई तुमको कैसा पता चला कि तुम औरत है? अब जवाब क्या आता देखिए, सुनिए आप। कह रहा है या कह रही है कि मेरे अतराफ के लोग बोले कि तुम मर्द हो ही नहीं सकते। मेरा सीईओ बोल रहा है, मेरा वाइस प्रेसिडेंट बोल रहा है, मेरे अतराफ के लोग बोल रहे हैं, एक जापान से, एक नेटिव, कुछ गोरे, कुछ जर्मन, कुछ ये कुछ वो। अरे भाई, अगर आपको कोई ये कह दिया कि भाई आप मर्द है, आप तो उसको कोर्ट में लेके चले जाएंगे। कोई वाइस प्रेसिडेंट, कोई सीईओ क्यों बोलेंगे आपको? आप जो प्रिटेंड कर रहे हैं वही बोलेंगे। और जब उसे कहा गया कि तुमको पहले कब इसका एहसास हुआ कि तुम जो है औरत है, तो बोल रही है या बोल रहा है कि मैं पहली दफा लॉन्ड्री कर रहा था, वॉशिंग मशीन, तो मैं एक यूके से पॉडकास्ट आया और मैं इतना मुतासिर हुआ कि वो अपनी जिंदगी की जर्नी बता रही थी कि मैं मर्द से औरत कैसा हुई। मेरे अंदर भी वही फीलिंग्स थे। अब सोचिए आप, ये वॉल्श जो है पूछ रहा है कि देखिए, अब जैसा मैं हूं, मेरे कई दोस्त हैं, कई लोग मुझे जानते हैं। अब ये लोग मुझे फोन करके बताने लगे, भाई आप औरत हो ही नहीं सकते, आप यकीनी तौर पे मर्द हैं। आप यानी आप बोलो, कितना गुस्सा आ जाएगा आपको कि क्या ये लोग पागल हो गए? अरे भाई, मैं तो मर्द ही हूं, मुझे ना बोलने की क्या, उसमें बोलने की क्या जरूरत पड़ गई? यानी यू गेट अपसेट। या आप बोलेंगे क्या, जो आपको बोल रहा है कि भाई आप मर्दी हो सकते हैं, तो आप ये बोलेंगे इसका ज़हनी तवाज़ुन कुछ सही नहीं है। तो आप बहरहाल इसको देखिए, ये बहुत मज़ेदार, हिलेरियस, आई मीन यू विल एंजॉय टू द फुलेस्ट। और बेसिकली मैं समझता हूं ऐसे लोग, ये विक्टिम है, ये खुद इनोसेंट है, इनको खुद नहीं मालूम है कि ये क्या बात कर रहे हैं।
Because I feel the same way about my identity as a woman.
my question leading up to this. You've asserted that no one would ever see me as a woman, that nobody would ever see or could see a transgender person as a woman, and yet I have dozens of friends from diverse backgrounds, women from the reservation, a woman from Japan, several immigrant women. I have my coworkers, I have my boss, my VP, my CEO, all respecting me as a woman, my family, my long-term friends who are actually here with me. All of these people assure me, like, I'm a woman. They'll tell me, girl, like, there is no way you are a man. They see me as a woman. So the question, how can you assert that nobody would ever see me as a woman when my material experience tells me you're wrong?
Okay. It's interesting that that's the part of my talk you chose to ask a question about, because that's not in my talk at all. I don't believe I said that no one would ever see you as a woman. I mean, it's possible, I suppose, that you could fool someone. Now, you brought this up, so I have to tell you that you brought this up. You've put your identity on the table for conversation. And so I'm going to say you wouldn't fool me at all. I mean, I see a man 100%. And I think that most people would. Now, the fact that you have people in your life who are saying to you, oh, you're totally a woman, it's exactly what I'm talking about. No one in my life has ever once said to me, you're totally a man, Matt. You know, if a friend of mine called me on the phone and said, listen, Matt, I want you to know you're really a man, I would think that there was something wrong with him. I would say, why are you saying that at all? It doesn't make any sense. So the fact that this is a conversation to begin with tells me, it only proves the point that I'm trying to make, that your identity, even in your own mind, is something that you need to be assured of. Now, what I would like to ask you, again, because you're standing here, and so you've brought your identity on the table for discussion, so...
ये वीडियो देखिए, ये बड़ी ट्रेजेडी है. यहाँ पर औरत को मर्द बनाया गया और इसकी दुख भरी कहानी सुनिए. बहुत तकलीफदेह कहानी है. इसको सिंथेटिक हार्मोन्स दिए गए, यानी मैन मेड हार्मोन्स इसके जिस्म में चढ़ाए गए इसको मर्द बनाने के लिए. 7 इसके सर्जरीज हुए, हाथ से निकाल के ग्लैंड बनाए मर्द का. Can you just imagine this? इसको 17 राउंड्स एंटीबायोटिक्स दिए गए. राउंड्स है ये. और अगर ये साइंटिफिकली प्रूवन है कि अगर इसकी तदफीन हो गई, या मेरी तदफीन हो गई, आपकी हो गई, 200 साल के बाद अगर आपका स्केलेटन निकाले तो पता चल जाता कि यू आर ए मेल और फीमेल. यूवर मेल और फीमेल, आप औरत है या मर्द है, 200 साल के बाद पता चलता है. इसका इंश्योरेंस एक्सपायर हो गया. अब बताइए आप, अब ये कहां से कवर करेगा? टेक्सास का जो सबसे बड़ा चिल्ड्रन हॉस्पिटल है, वर्ल्ड का नंबर 1 है, वहां पर सर्जरी $70,000 लेते हैं. आप अंदाजा लगाइए इनकम का. और 67% कॉम्प्लिकेशंस है. 67%. 8 से 10 साल के पीरियड में ये जो ट्रांसजेंडर होते, औरत से मर्द, मर्द से औरत, 10-12 साल के बाद ये लोग सुसाइड करना चाहते हैं.
Fit. I was an alpha female, a sales executive that kind of just didn't fit in any box. When psychologists or somebody that I was in love with or whatever said that I was in the wrong body, I started to think, well, maybe I am. I'm a biological woman that medically transitioned to appear like a male through synthetic hormones and surgery. I will never be a man. Is it transphobic for me to tell the truth? Why is it that in a couple hundred years from now, if you dug up my body, they're going to go, yeah, that was a woman. had babies.
Can you tell me about the procedures that you had?
I've had 7 surgeries. I've had 1 stress heart attack. I've had a helicopter life ride with a pulmonary embolism. I've had 17 rounds of antibiotics. I had 6 inches of hair on the inside of my urethra for 17 months. Nobody would help me, including the doctor that did this to me because I lost my insurance. I get infections every 3 to 4 months. I'm probably not going to live very long.
Was there any real discussion of the risks and the side effects?
No, there's not. And I know that people want to think that there is, but there's not. The truth is that medical transition is experimental. We have studies that said that medical transition helps mental health with kids. They've all been retracted, modified, changed. But the only long-term study tells us 7 to 10 years is when transgender people are the most suicidal. After surgery. But that's transphobic to say. For the first time in history, a marginalized group has a huge dollar sign on the top of their head. We have 5 children's hospitals in the United States promoting that. That's a phalloplasty. That's a bottom surgery. We have 5 children's hospitals in the United States telling girls that they can be boys at $70,000 a pop in a surgery that has a 67% complication rate. That will kill me from infection that I can't sue on. We're butchering a generation of children because nobody's willing to talk about anything. I have 3 kids at the age that they're doing this to kids. I'm not transphobic. I love my kids, and I love other people's kids, and you should too. This is wrong on so many levels.
Can kids consent? Do you think kids are capable of consenting to this?
No, they're not. Being a parent is loving the hell out of your kids and helping them see around corners.
What's the youngest patient that you...
अब ये तमाशा देखिए, एक कोरियन स्पा, इसमें एक आके औरत पूछती है रिसेप्शनिस्ट से कि भाई ट्रांसजेंडर खवातीन या औरतों के वॉशरूम में दाखिल हो जाता है ट्रांसजेंडर, तो क्या करेंगे आप? और जो गया है ट्रांसजेंडर, 5 बार उसके ऊपर फेलनी चार्जेस है, 5 बार वो बदमाशियां करा है औरतों के वॉशरूम में जाकर, एंड ही इज टेलिंग ही इज ए ट्रांसजेंडर. वो मर्द से औरत हो गया. अब ये डेमोक्रेटिक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव कैलिफोर्निया का, इसको सुनिए, उससे सवाल कर रहा है वो आदमी कि भाई कोई ट्रांसजेंडर औरतों के वॉशरूम में चले गया तो क्या करेंगे आप? इंटरव्यू ओवर.
At a health club in Koreatown over the issue of gender.
That's right. Video of spa goers complaining was posted on social media.
I just want to be clear with you. It's okay for a man to go into the women's section, show his penis around the other women, young little girls underage. Your spa, we spa, condone that. Is that what you're saying? Like I asked. It's so he can stay there. He can stay there. What's sexual orientation? I see a dick.
Police identified the person involved as 52-year-old Darren Morager of Riverside County. Morager, who has been a registered sex offender since 2006, now faces 5 felony counts of indecent exposure.
Hello, Mark Takano. Trans Month of Visibility is a time to recognize the strength, diversity, and resiliency of the transgender community. Together, we can make our country and our world a more accepting place by speaking out against transphobia at the source.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for joining us. You are the first member of Congress who's a member of the LGBT community and all proponent of the Equality Act.
Yes.
What is the Equality Act? If you were to just summarize it very briefly, I know it does a lot.
The most simplest way to talk about the Equality Act is that it simply amends the 1964
men who say, and I've talked to a few who say this, they say, hey, I'd like some privacy in the bathroom. I'd prefer not to encounter naked penises, frankly. They say even that the penis is a telltale sign that someone is a male. I mean, there are people who kind of really bought into the rumor that only men have penises. How do we account for that? How do you respond to that?
Well, what I would say is that most transgender people that I know, and it's a very, I think, distinct minority of people. It is a very, I think, we're talking not about a lot of people. I think a person who wants to use a women's bathroom, who identifies as transgender, really does think of themselves as a female. So how we go about trying to, respect their basic right to live, I think will be an important part of this law. And with the bathrooms, bathrooms are, where you want to take this conversation instead of the basic right to just life is something that I'm kind of mystified that you're kind of not focusing on first. So we're going straight to the controversy over bathrooms. So, you know what? I think this interview is over.
Yeah.
I think this interview is over.
I just had one last question.
The interview's over.
We want to know what is a woman?
Please turn off the cameras.
Excuse me. So we're going to end the interview. If you guys could please pack up and return to the office exactly.
I just wanted to know.
Okay.
I came all this way to know what.
अब आप इस मौसूफ को सुनिए. ये डॉक्टर हैं और प्रोफेसर है यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ टेनेसी और ये जेंडर सेक्सुअलिटी के माहिर हैं और ये कह रहे हैं कि बायोलॉजिकली तौर पर जो शख्स होता है चाहे वो मर्द हो औरत है डिफरेंट है और जेंडर जो है डिफरेंट है. दे आर इंटरचेंजेबल.
Not just reduce gender to what psychologists might call individual differences, but rather thinking about gender, and that's not women and man, but gender as a social form, something that kind of infuses itself into virtually all aspects of social life.
Well, let's talk about that then. I guess we should start with, we've got gender and sex, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference between the two? Is there a difference?
I saw that in your questions and I thought, my goodness, this is what we spend an entire semester kind of thinking through. But what we tend to think about in the social sciences today is that sex refers to a set of biological characteristics and gender is a social construct or category. What I think is often misleading about that characterization is allowed to be sort of messy and complicated. But in that framing, when you split them up into these wholly discrete constructs, studies scholars, and really more specifically people who study gender and sex, we're not talking about sexuality right now, in the kind of academic universe that I travel.
Yes. Okay, if you're responding to a health emergency. Biological male, somebody with a penis, is having a medical emergency, and they say to you, I think I'm having a miscarriage. Would you check them to see if they're having a miscarriage? Would you consider that a possibility for them?
No, but that's because some people don't have body parts. Doesn't mean they're not a woman.
Okay. Sounds like we've established there are some people who, in principle, can get pregnant, and there are some people who can't. So there's two categories, otherwise known as binary.
Lots of women can't get pregnant either.
Yeah, but they're still of the nature to get pregnant. The only
but
reason
they can't get pregnant.
Yes, but
truth matters, right?
It does. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Truth matters, and they can't get pregnant. That's the truth. So how are they still women?
Because they are for the same reason that I can rightly say that human beings have two legs. And if a person is born with only one leg, that doesn't call into question the statement that human beings have two legs, okay? A person being born with one leg doesn't mean that now legs are on a spectrum and we can't say anything at all about how many legs a person has. Who knows? They could be a centipede. You know, they could have 100 legs. No, we know human beings have two legs. If a human is born without two legs, something went wrong. They were supposed to have that second leg. Something went wrong. If you meet a person on the street who only has one leg, maybe they had an accident. Maybe they were in war. Maybe something. Maybe they were in a car accident. Maybe they had cancer. A leg was cut off. But you know that something went wrong because by their nature, they're supposed to have two legs. Same thing for a woman. A woman by her nature can get pregnant. A man by his nature never can. So if you meet a woman of childbearing age, say she's 28 years old, and she can't get pregnant, you know automatically that something has gone wrong. And she can go to the doctor and find out what that thing is, even if they can't fix it. With this left-wing gender ideology is that no one who espouses it can even tell you what these words mean. It's like, what is a woman?
Well,
can you tell me what a woman is?
No, I can't. Because it's not for me to say. Womanhood looks different for everybody.
What do you define a woman as?
An adult human female.
And what does a female mean?
Well, that's
how do you define a female?
someone with female reproductive organs.
Okay.
Someone who's, here's the thing, when you're female, it goes right down to your bones, your DNA. So that's why if someone dies, we can dig up their bones 100 years from now. We have no idea what they believed in their head, but we can tell what sex they were because it's ingrained in every fiber of their being.
Interesting. So I'm trying to understand. Your definition is that a woman is someone who is female, you said, right?
Correct. Is a biological female.
So what happens if we have maybe someone who is female, identifies as a woman, right? Cisgender woman, right? As you just explained, that maybe doesn't have the ability to reproduce. Maybe doesn't have those organs that you're talking about that are reproductive organs.
I have answered the question. You stood up here and said trans women are women.
Yes.
Tell me what you mean. What is a woman?
Womanhood is something that, just as Ethan explained, I cannot define because I am not myself.
You used the word, so what did you mean when you said trans women are women if you don't know what it means?
Right? So here's the thing. So I do not define what a woman is because I do not identify as a woman. Womanhood is something that is an umbrella term. It includes people
that describes what?
People who identify